So, why don't you tell us about yourself, Nicole?
My name is Nicole Ryan. I'm the owner and operator of Couture Yuki, based out of the greater Philadelphia area. We recently showed our capsule collection in Philly Fashion Week Fall 2021 that just passed. We are pretty much just getting the business ready to go. We're actually going to be releasing another collection next year that's kind of playing off of this collection. It's a little more consumable level. I actually went to Academy Art University for costume design and ended up over in Maid Institute after I think like 2 years of doing costume design with AAU, and sought for some more hands-on learning. So I found Maid Institute and pretty much completed their program, and now I'm here.
So, did you do the online program?
I did. Yeah, I did. I did not go to California.
Yeah, that's how I'm doing it is over the computer, but I'm not. I mean, we have some hands-on stuff, but it's not like, with designing and stuff. So it's a little different. So it doesn't really require me to really be there as much.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. I didn't complete the program with AAU. I got, I think, a little bit through my halfway point of my bachelor's, and I kind of realized that I'm a hands-on learner, and I excelled much faster at Maid Institute than I did over in AAU, sadly. Yeah.
So, starting with the Maid Institute collection, what was your theme for this collection?
So, my theme would be, I guess, the technically the process of being tied to someone that you would consider like your soulmate, and when you keep like kind of, I want to say, making up excuses to keep that connection together, and what it does to you as a person and how that translates into clothing. Because Couture Yuki, our woman is someone who's unafraid to show who they are and to show like their battle scars in a way. So we kind of like translate all those kind of like movements of feeling and experience into clothing, and a lot of art pieces. Really, ours was definitely more artistic. You could definitely see the costume design background a little bit, with like the finished pieces. So yeah, that was pretty much like the main theme, was the red string of fate, which if people aren't like knowledgeable of, it's this concept in Japanese folklore where you're tied to your soulmate with a red string through, like, connected to your pinkies, and no matter where you go, like, you're always connected. So it was that idea of like what happens if you're tied to someone who really wasn't meant for you, which, a little macabre, but that's how we roll. So
that's a really cool theme. Don't mind me, I was just letting people know to go to here. I put the link so they could get right to here if they wanted to find the live stream. So that's a really neat concept for your collection, and I like the different dimensions of it.
Yeah, I mean, so like each piece on its own could very well be a collection, but because we were limited to 6 looks, I wanted to utilize my time at Maid Institute to really push the boundaries of what my, not necessarily limitations are, but like, I'm there to learn. This collection's here to like kind of like strut my stuff as a designer and a creator. Like, let me show you what I've got. So all 6 pieces on their own could very well be their own, collections if it's diluted properly. So, like, the 6 looks are like tangle you, like burn you, tension, like all these different things that happen within like a relationship where you're tearing yourself apart kind of situation, which it's really sad to say, but a lot of people know what that's like, both men and women. And the one thing I do love about my dresses and everything like that, and the pieces that we cranked out, like I had men coming up to me, men models who were like, "I'll wear your stuff," and I loved that idea, but it was just like they came up and offered, like, I want to say a week before Philly Fashion, and I was like, I'm gonna stick with my models, but like maybe for the photo shoot. So we're still actually orchestrating that because I've been waiting around this time of year because macabre, so dead things.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, I feel like you already went into this, but like what inspired this collection? Was there any artworks or films or anything like that? Or
yes, so particularly, I obviously, I pulled from some like personal experiences, but I also, I'm very much. There's one song by Halsey. It's called Graveyard. It's actually what I had the models walk to for Philly Fashion Week. And there's one particular line where the line is, "It's crazy when the hand you want to hold is the weapon and it's just skinned." And like, that's just like, it was, when I first heard that song, I was like, wow. And the design process was a bit tricky because as much as I love the guidance from our instructors, like I did feel like when I was looking at my like designs from like when they were like, okay, it's time to like finalize your designs, and I looked at them and it was like, there's a lot of voices in this collection and I need it to just be one. And when I heard that song, I was like, that's the voice, that's the woman I want to represent in this collection, is someone who's been beaten, battered, and bruised, and still came out like strong and beautiful. And that was the idea, was to make these pieces gorgeous, but also have a much deeper meaning. So,
yeah, that's awesome and such a like positive message.
yeah, because the thing is like, no matter what you go through, you're always going to be stronger than what you came through yesterday. So, and why not wear that as battle armor?
For sure. And it's something that everybody can kind of relate to and tap into and see themselves within this collection. So, what materials, techniques, fabrics, what did you use within this collection?
So, like I said, because this was like my kind of like, let me show off what I can do. This was very much a couture collection. So, I mean, like, I hand dyed the burn dress. Do you mind if I like use the pictures, like my sketches, to like explain them? Because
no problem.
Okay, cool. So I know we were talking about like the TikToks, and some of the TikToks do show like some of the process, but like for this one in particular, like this particular fabric, like the majority of the fabric that I purchased for this collection, except for like 2 pieces, were predominantly dead stock. We tried to do a lot in this collection, and one of my big things was sustainability for me personally, because I'm that person. So we used pretty much chiffon, and then I mean me, used coffee and tea to be a little more sustainable, to get the proper hue. We didn't necessarily in the beginning get a deep enough hue, so we did actually, for future looks, we had to use like synthetic dye. But for this one in particular, the burn marks were emphasized with charcoal and with fabric paint, so everything you see on this piece was pretty much like hand dyed, and I actually used a wood burning tool to burn like the edges and the holes and everything like that, and then outline them with like charcoal and paint and everything like that. So yeah, wow. So that one's like the most, I want to say, intricate. We also used like this I used jewelry wiring to keep its structure at the top, so that way at the bottom it could flow. And Carlene killed it down the runway with that one. So the jacket's textiles, the design on the velvet itself was all hand painted. And it was reminiscent of another dress with the textile. We used that as kind of like a blueprint to where the lines would go, so that way it'd be a cohesive textile. And this is these two I'm about to show are like these two were the most time consuming. So the crystal dress, which was the first one to walk in Philly Fashion Week, this one was decorated by hand embellishing broken quartz crystals that were colored with resin and then applied layer by layer on the dress, including also dyeing this dress as well. We didn't end up going with the headpiece because the headpiece just was a train wreck and not intentional train wreck, so we didn't want to utilize it. So, but yeah, this one was one of the first looks to walk. And then this one is the one that personally is my personal favorite, mainly because I spent so much time on it. This is we call it the scab dress, because I hand embroidered with a Singer machine every single like embroidery that you see on the dress. So,
That's
yeah,
awesome. I love the attention to detail in each look and like all the many different techniques that you use.
yes, we even used a very different technique with this one. This one we used grommets to enclose the dress, which we had to actually install a quick change zipper because we didn't realize our model, she was going to be on a few looks, but intentionally, you know, if someone too going to utilize this dress, it's like it is very custom to who you are, and then we stitch everything in place and then do like a quick zipper for you to go in and out. But this was utilized. This was actually not, they're all my favorites, but this one was very much a wow factor when it came all together. So this dress in particular I loved. It was a little risque, but to me it definitely needed to show a lot. So yeah,
that's awesome. And as long as I can manage to save this and also post it to Facebook, what I'll do is I'll try to include links to the TikToks and the reel that you had that really showed the finalized looks and so you can see you also working through the process of making these garments. So
people don't really realize how much work went into these dresses.
yeah.
So, sorry, go ahead.
I know. I said that people definitely do not know how much goes into design unless they actually do it themselves. It's a lot.
Yeah. I had like a bunch of friends the night before because the embroidered dress just like it needed a few more and we were having issues tacking it down. So I had some of my friends over and they were all just like trying to get these like scabs down to make sure that they're just not like popping off and looking sloppy because that's just not me. And they were like, oh my God, I never realized like how much work goes into just, and they were like, and this is just one dress. And I was like, yes. So.
Yeah, you have a whole collection through it.
Yeah.
So, did you collaborate with anyone?
I had a few interns who helped me out with the process. One in particular was script by Milo on Instagram. She is fantastic. Also, another Maid Institute student also assisted me with some of the scabs, but pretty much other than that, you were looking at the one-woman army who cranked this out during COVID. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, I can only imagine. So your collaborator was she also a fashion student as well?
Yeah, she is. She is currently going through the DDP program, which is actually how we were. The designer development program through Maid Institute. That was actually how we ended up connecting. They were gracious enough to throw out like my SOS, and she was more than kind enough to assist. So
that's awesome. You have to send me a link, and I'll include that as well.
Yeah.
Let's see. That was actually my next question. Is if you wait, I did ask that question. If you collaborate with anyone. Let's see. So, how would you describe this collection aesthetically? Also, your next collection, what is that like aesthetically?
So this current collection aesthetically was very raw. I want to say raw and very much like to get your attention. Like, hey, this is like couture, artistic. Like, I wanted to like tell a story very strongly, and I want to say confidently, I definitely did that. But also, I gave myself more inspiration and more knowledge through this entire process to move forward on something that's a little bit easier. Because this beginning collection designed itself to be couture, and I kind of just listened to it and was like, you know what, I love Alexander McQueen. Like, Alexander McQueen is such a huge influence when he was still alive, you know, rest in peace. And I want to be on that level of storytelling through clothing. And in order to do that, like, I wanted to, you know, while this isn't my meat dress, this is definitely something that was loud and, you know, you couldn't ignore my collection coming down, honestly. You really couldn't, because it was just so huge. Everything was huge. The skirts, the jacket, the sleeves. Yeah, and the future collection is a bit more, I don't want to say condensed, it's definitely not condensed, but it's definitely more consumable. Like, I'm working on trying to get, like, manufacturing and, like, being able to be, like, you're going to walk down the runway, and then, like, right as soon as you see it walk down the runway, you can purchase it. These are going to be more ready-to-wear pieces, but they are going to have a very similar but less... kind of like a healed version of what this previous collection was. Kind of like, you've already gone through this crap. Like, here are the badges of honor of you going through this and wearing, you know, your heart on your sleeve with pride. Like, they're like kind of like getting rid of the idea of vulnerability as being a weak thing and being it like something where it's like, I went through this, I can help others, I can help myself, like, you know, and be there for others and show that to the world. So that's the aesthetic. I don't know if that answered that question correctly, but that's where we're going. So
awesome. So the overall theme is the healing in response to the previous collection.
Yeah, and like, that's something where I've been kind of like toying with process wise. It's like, you know, if we're going to do another couture collection, it's very much going to be like, it's the journey and then the reward kind of idea, which I think is, you know, unique to it, but also it's like, you know, taking things from like, you know, making the cut where you have something that's runway and then you have something that's ready to wear and consumable. So, and making that available so that way you can have a piece that, you know, shows your story, but also can go with other pieces in your closet. So that way it's not a giant ball gown with quartz crystals all over it. While you can wear that to work, you know, and that's a bold statement, I also want to make something, you know, something approachable so that way, you know, we can also stay in business. So, but yeah.
I just thought of that. Have you ever seen, it was like a Vogue video, and I think it was kind of like teasing having maybe Meryl Streep speak to Anna Wintour, or it might have just been one about Anna Wintour, and they did a riff on that whole line from Devil Wears Prada, where he says, "Well, you have to wear a ball gown to work," or something like that. One of them says that, and you have everybody wearing ball gowns in this like parody video. It was really funny.
Oh man, I haven't seen that, but like, I mean, listen, if my ladies want to wear ball gowns to work, bring it in. You know, I have a gorgeous jacket that'll go with it. I'm just saying. With hands for closures, we definitely took. I'm very much from a theater background, so like, the idea is like, get someone's attention, but then tell them the story. which, you know, with fast fashion, it's very difficult to do because, you know, the attention span is ever changing. But our goal is to make timeless pieces so that way it's like, you know, you can buy this and it'll be relevant because it's relevant to you. Like, you as a person who's living through this, and you have this piece, it's gonna, like, more of an emotional connection than this is just a tank top. You know? So that's the idea.
For sure. And that sounds like a great plan too, because it's kind of like you entertain, but you give them something to gravitate towards and, you know, apply.
Exactly.
And I definitely understand your interest and appreciation and love for McQueen. I was watching a video by the Albert and Victoria Museum, or is it Victoria and Albert? The museum, where they were talking about the Savage Beauty.
Yes.
the Savage Beauty exhibit. They were talking about how, like, the one bodice of this red dress was made out of painted microscope slides, and I just was like, wow, who would have ever thought to use microscope slides? But, you know, that was McQueen. I loved hearing that detail.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, you, like, seeing it come down the runway, I'm like, how are you going to know? You know? But it's like those pieces that were so, like, whoa, were the most memorable, you know? So.
For sure. And also, too, his one with the, where he used the shells and he had her, like, break them.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like where I drew that inspiration for the quartz crystals. I was like, they're too chunky, like, full crystal. And then I keep saying we, like, there's a different team here. I put them in, like, a sack and took a hammer outside and was, like, smashing them to smithereens to make them, you know, more applicable to size. So that way it didn't look too crafty either. And then we covered them in, like, a resin paint so that way it didn't, like, stab the model, which is really important. So yeah. People forget they're humans too. Don't stab your models.
It's good. It's a good principle.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, I feel like you already went into this, but I was saying, what would you like your audience to take away from your collection or collections?
No one's telling anybody how to dress, honestly. And what I want people to take away from my collections, the last collection was, don't be afraid of what you've been through because you'll be surprised how many other people have been through it too. And then this new collection is, be proud of whatever you've gone through because you shouldn't feel ashamed. If anything, it's like connecting to people on that level will give you more authentic, genuine connections. And that's really what the world needs right now. And also, you know, I want people who wear my clothes to feel empowered. You know, not just, oh, I went through this and, you know, it sucked. It's not that. It's, I went through this and I conquered. Like, anybody who wears our pieces, I want them to feel and take away, like, an idea of you're using this piece in your closet, in your wardrobe, to really just, like, kind of, like I said, a level of battle armor of kind of like, you know, it also might just look good to you, but also there's another layer of the story. It's another layer of the onion. So, yeah, I think that's, I'd like for them to take away that. There's always a story, no matter how many stitches are in each garment. So.
More than meets the eye, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Now, what was the design process like for you for, you know, either these collections or just in general?
For the future collection, the design process, we are still trying to find something that's that sticks. I'm trying to replicate what I did with my previous collection, and it's not that it's not working, it's just I think I'm zeroing in on my design voice versus like the guidance that we were provided, which awesome, and I really did need the guidance, and I'm seeing that now. But like now when you're on your own designing, like you need to figure out like, okay, what parts of the process that I went through stuck and shown through, and like what exercises did I do to get to the final garments. So a lot of, and I do have pictures if you don't mind, I'll be really quick about it.
Oh,
But
no.
like I do have like in my sketchbook, like I have all these like different tests and like working with grommets and seeing how they looked like. I have like the idea of musubi, which is like fate, and then just like a lot of just kind of going through and drawing and like looking at shapes and pretty much figuring it out. Like the burn dress literally originated with just a piece of paper that like looked singed, and then we started going from there, and we went into dip dyeing, and this one piece carries over from my last mood board to this mood board for the current collection as well. So a lot of images and sketching things out, and you know, figuring out who our muse is. But yeah, there was actually do a lot of testing on my mannequin, and a lot of pieces were initially very costume, and I had to figure out how to kind of take a step back and be like, okay, this is costume design. It's very costumey. Like I had like a foam armor piece at one point designed for this past collection, taking battle armor literally, and decided to like kind of take it down a notch and be like, okay, let's, you know, what would McQueen do? That was kind of like our myself and like Rachel was like helping me out towards the end too. Kind of like whenever we were sitting there trying to figure out like how to like wrap this up and make it like as perfect as it can be for a first collection, we were constantly like, what would McQueen do? Like, how would McQueen do this? So, but yeah, like basic mood boards, color swatching, fabric swatches. Actually, Black Friday sale just went and got a lot of fabric for the next collection, because, you know, just like going through and sketching like a lot of looks that are inspired by that mood board and going from there. I like to do colors, swatches, mood board, and like find a song to like inspire. So it's like kind of like all five senses, and then going from there. So yeah, I think if I'm not to solidify, but I'm pretty sure the next collection will be debuting next September in Atlantic City Fashion Week. I'm already collaborating with them, and then I believe we're doing a few additional pieces from my previous collection with another fashion show down in Maryland. But I don't know if we're still on for that one, but if we do, like there's gonna be more in between pieces that kind of help tell the story a little bit more. But yeah, and also we're still doing like a photo shoot for these pieces, you know, and all of that. So like we're still living in this world a little bit, which is the reason why I'm kind of like okay with like pulling that, because I feel like the red string of fate's always going to be a consistent idea. You know, love, self-love, all that other stuff. Especially because it's such a huge topic in like this generational trend and stuff like that as well. So yeah,
great ideas, and it's kind of good that you're like kind of testing your waters and seeing what works and trying different things, and also trying out different markets. That also helps, like trying the different fashion weeks and, you know, bringing even more exposure to your work.
Yeah, exactly. Because number one thing is people can't buy the clothes if they don't know it exists. So
for sure. So, what was the design process for like you? Like, how did you feel during this process?
How did I feel during the process?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I'm laughing a little bit because there was a lot of breakdowns.
Like, was it like a you know, anxiety, celebration. Like it just like went back and forth.
Well, you also have to remember, like, there's this added layer of like COVID.
Yeah.
So like, so I was originally supposed to show, I think, in 2019 fall or 2020 fall. It's one of the two. We were originally supposed to show then, but then like, so I finished up these designs, and that process was pretty much like, I was struggling so much to like try to figure out what voice I wanted to show in these designs. And I was also like kind of scared to kind of like, hey, I've been hurt. Like, here's like, here's my wound, right? Of like all the emotional turmoil I've been through. And here it is in these dresses, like there was a big struggle there of like, especially towards the end, towards like getting closer to Fashion Week, I was just like, oh my god, like I'm showing this raw side of me that like no one really knows. Like I'm a very closed off person, then I'm coming out with like this, and it's just like that was anxiety inducing, along with just kind of like, how you're perceived after showing something. But to me, and my one theater professor gave this to me, was like, the most beautiful pieces of art are the ones that come from the heart. And like the wound is the most beautiful thing because everybody can relate to it. And it's the truth. I had so many people after the collection walked, and like these people I haven't talked to in years, they were like, I looked at your collection and you said like a few words and I knew exactly what happened. Like I knew exactly who that woman is walking down that runway. And I was just kind of like, oh, thank God. I was like, and they were like, and it's beautiful. And I was like, oh, thank God. So, but yeah, it was anxiety inducing, tons of meltdowns and breakdowns. It's a very, there are people who just design things to look gorgeous, and that's fine. But for me, it's so important with like all of my background of like theater and costume design and just like writing and all these other things, to be intentional, to tell a story. Like I feel like us as artists are so, we have this beautiful gift to tell stories and share the world, showing them like you're not alone. I feel like that's like the number one thing I want anybody to take away from all of this, is just like, you're not alone in this journey. We're all stumbling, trying to figure things out. And some of us stumbled a lot more, so that way we can give you some blueprints on where the tripwires are, So, yeah.
Very well worded there, and it's definitely something we all can relate to.
Yeah.
Let's see. How do you feel that the Maid Institute impacted your abilities, confidence, or other aspect of your design experience?
So, I love Maid. Like, Maid really, honestly, hands-on, great experience. If you have no idea how to sew, you can go into their program and walk out knowing how to sew pretty much like any garment that you need to. The staff has changed, I think, since I was in the DDP program. Like, for the last year and a half, it's been pretty isolated because, in their defense, like, nobody knew how to handle anything during COVID, so they did the best they could. From there, that was when I kind of had to like figure things out the most when it comes like design. But they definitely provided guidance, especially towards the end. Rachel really like stepped in and was like, we're gonna figure this out. And that's where what would the queen do and everything like that. But yeah, I do appreciate their guidance. I loved their classes. I can't speak to the current instructors, sadly, because I don't know them. But I do see like a lot of like their students' work, because obviously they're always, posting and showing off like their current students' work, and it's around the same quality. So it's just, the number one thing I'll say though is, with any education, you get what you put into it. So if you're going to go in for their program, like, you have to, like, I like the approach that I did, which was like, I'm in this program, I'm going to work my butt off to like try everything, so that way when I come out of this, I have all these tools in my toolbox as a designer moving forward to like, show it off, or be confident that I can do it on my own. So but yeah, they're fantastic when it comes to guidance and stuff like that too. So
I mean, yeah, nobody saw that coming, and it's like, learning to adjust and trying out different models and things of that nature.
Exactly. And like that's the thing, they like it's a very unique experience with Maid, because it's not like a college course. It's like you're going through and you're doing a lot of vocational technical like learning, and then they get you through and I'm talking strictly the designer development program because that's what I went through. And then, and then you go into the design process. So that way, like, hand in hand, you're learning how to sew a shirt, but then you're learning how to design and do all these other things. And I love the experiences. Like, we did screen printing and textile design as well. Like, you get like appetizers of each area of the industry. Including like business and everything like that. So, and I do believe they have like a jumpstart course that's more geared towards business now too, which I'm actually I'm trying to figure out whether or not I should go for that one too. But yeah, no, and they do cover it in their program. It's a very well-rounded program. I'm like I said, I didn't experience like the online learning as much, because by the time our class was once COVID hit, we were in that phase where we were supposed to be on our own anyways, just coming in for check-ins. So while COVID did affect the timeline, because ordering fabric was insane, along with trying to go physically, because I'm very much, I need to touch the fabric to figure out whether or not I want to use it and how I'm going to use it. So that really stunts the production process. So that's where that stunted our growth versus the online learning and stuff like that, which I don't think it really stunted anybody, honestly, because they picked it up, figured it out, and kept moving. So yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Now, how was your experience having your collection shown at Paris Fashion? I said Paris. Philly Fashion Week. I know. I don't know why I said Paris.
Because we're gonna be there soon.
Yeah, we could always wish. I was presenting for Philly Fashion Week.
So the experience for Philly Fashion Week, right? Sorry, I have a highway right near me, so it's hard to hear.
Oh, it's all right. It's been loud today, because it's all of a sudden you hear storming, and it's all kinds of mess.
Yeah. So the experience with Philly Fashion Week was good. I was constantly told it's not always like this. It's super rushed, because I think mid-August they were finally allowed to actually have a venue with that many people because of COVID. So we promptly, I think it was either the middle or end of August, we had model fittings and all those other accoutrements that come with a fashion show, and trying to figure out the timing of that. And then I have all these pieces that are technically made to measure, so I'm having these women try them on, and then it was stressful. I won't sit there and lie. I actually had a small blessing in disguise where I had tons of time then to work on my collection all of September, so I did that. And honestly, it was an experience that I wish I could kind of have a redo over, but I'm cool with what happened. I'm cool with everything that happened, and I'm very excited. I do wish that the one regret the one regret I have is I really, when my collection was walking, they only showed my logo, and I really wanted them to have the logo and my brand name, because a logo is beautiful, that's fine, but my logo in particular is actually an image versus our name. So a lot of people didn't know who designed these clothing. If you weren't a VIP, you didn't get the booklet, so you didn't know who the designer was. So I was kind of I was a little disheartened there, because I'm now seeing all these pieces, pictures, and I'm oh, that's mine. I want that one. That's I'm the designer. So, and that has helped with traction and stuff like that too. So, but I think like moving forward, like I'm interested to see how other fashion shows work. I'd love to show in Philly again. If that crosses our path, I'd love to do that again. Because I think now more, because I've seen like behind the curtain, I have a more like steady footing, and seeing what other designers did to kind of like corral the chaos. I would like to do that as well. So, like, you have, like, these boards with all the looks and everything, and which model, which is genius, and I was like, damn, I should have done that. So, yeah, it was an amazing learning experience. Like, I will not sit there and say it was not great. It was amazing. It was amazing. It was stressful, but it was amazing. So.
That's awesome. And, it's good to learn along the way, and, as I am doing with live streaming, because it's not my thing.
You'll get it. Third time's a charm.
Yeah. It's funny, too, because the first live stream, I was like, oh, man, I should have done this, I should have done that. And then when I saw the second one, I'm like, wow, I'm having, like, malfunctions. I'm like, well, how is the second one not going as good as the first? In terms of, like, the functionality, like,
yeah,
that's what should happen the first time around. But luckily, the interview part, once you get it going, that's fantastic. It's just, when Facebook decides to be, malfunctioning.
It's all this meta stuff. They keep adding all this meta stuff. It makes it difficult.
Yeah. You learn as you go, and hopefully they'll figure it out, because I couldn't even do it from my computer because I couldn't add anybody. Let's see. So, what are your goals for the future for your brand as a designer and career-wise?
So, I am currently going full-time into my brand. That being said, I'm trying to figure out, like, I know who my Kawada Yuki is. Like, I know who she is. I'm very confident in who we can cater to. Now it's just kind of like getting, like, right now we're in the process of getting some business grants and like going through like the more business side of fashion that really doesn't get talked about as much. You see all these gorgeous dresses, but it's like, who's gonna buy them? So my goals to the future, honestly, my goal, and I want to follow in Conrad Brooker's footsteps. I love him as a designer. He actually gave me like some really amazing critiques for like my first final go around, which is the reason why we have these pieces today. Where he looked at all the pieces, which I was telling you, there were so many voices within the finalized design. He looked at them and he was like, you said this is about the red string of fate, and I don't see the red string. And then you just kind of have like a duh moment. And he's very couture as well, and beautiful pieces. You find him on Instagram. Please, I encourage people. He actually just got a deal with Neiman Marcus, I believe. I was like, and it's in Macy's right now, or some of his pieces that he designed. So my goal is to I want our pieces to be so consumable, but that you can buy them in Macy's. And that's a few steps. We're working on it. I'm definitely working on print designs. I'm very excited for the print design that's coming for the fall show for next year. There's gonna be a lot more print. We're gonna be working. There's still gonna be some hand sewn elements into certain pieces, but I am very excited. Our goal is to I'll be as fast as I can with this. I'm sorry. Kawada Yuki is obviously a healing journey type of brand, so my number one thing is, once we get established, I want to start giving back to the community. I want to help out victims of domestic violence. That's a really big thing for me. And also just having our pieces accessible, whether that be online platforms or, going into a brick and mortar or a Macy's and being able to purchase a Kawada Yuki. So that's the goal. I want to see my pieces in these beautiful places where my woman shops, and you know, like, and even if you're not the Kawaru Yuki, like, everyone's a little Kawaru Yuki though, let's be real. But yeah, like, that's the goal. I want to make that possible, and that's right now we're working towards that, getting a little more on the business end. Like I said, we're applying for some business grants. I have a lot more to come. I know our Instagram's been a little quiet, mainly because I've been trying to just piece together a lot of stuff, and also it's holiday time, so you know, you have to show face everywhere. So yeah.
I have another question that I should have asked a while ago, but can you explain the name of your brand?
Yes, Kawaru Yuki. Kawaru is the Japanese word for strange, pretty much. And strange, weird, strange in like a good way. So I was struggling. I have like so. The joke is I have so many work emails because I couldn't figure out a brand name. And I was raised. I'm personally Filipino American, but my mom raised us very very much in the Japanese culture. So I've always assimilated to like being like not being Japanese, but like, you know, I've had a very heavy hand in like the culture and the mannerisms and how you present yourself, which kind of, you know, went up in smoke when I did this collection and showed everything. But Kawaru is very much a word that's like near and dear to my heart, because it's like I am very like I'm unafraid of weird and strange. Like, to me, like, that beacon attracts your tribe, and that's kind of like what I want to do there also with my clothes, is like you wear this and people are just automatic. Like, our clothing is our poster board to like attracting people and starting conversations, and people don't realize that, you know, like we buy these branded t-shirts and like, you know, like, or, you know, get like a screen print of like our favorite show on it or a quote, you know, and even just like something beautiful, you're like, wow, that's a beautiful skirt, and then you're starting this conversation with a stranger, you know. But yeah, Kawaru, strange in the best and weirdest way, and then Yuki is actually the name that my family's given me, because we have like our actual name and then like kind of like our nickname. So mine's a Yukino, which is like Yuki for snow, or purity. So Yuki is more for like the namesake than it is for the Japanese meaning, but Kawaru is definitely like strange and weird. So yeah.
Very cool.
Thank you.
I appreciate all the different dimensions of your work, and you know what inspires everything, and the amount of thought process that goes into everything.
Yeah, if there's one thing I just want to be known for, is being intentional. So
For sure. You're definitely on that path.
thank you.
And I wish you the best of luck with all your future collections and as the brand grows. And I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. And I'm just going to take one moment just to let people know this will be a series of at least 3 parts. So we're going to interview one more person next week. So be on the lookout. Hopefully it'll be on Facebook Live if it cooperates with me. If not, it'll be on Instagram Live like tonight was. And I want to thank everyone who watched, and I want to thank you again for participating, and I hope everyone has a good night, and I hope you have a good night.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.